Welcome back to the final part of our conversation with Martin Spiller on AI in finance.
Martin, if you put your Oakmere hat on, if you were looking at a business to potentially invest in right now, what would be the AI factors you would look for? What noises would you want to see them making around AI that would make you think these guys are really looking quite interesting?
I'll be honest with you, Jonathan, from an Oakmere standpoint, I want people who are not using AI so that we can make rapid gains by deploying it. Because
There you go. There you go.
I mean, and just to be clear, Oakmere is we're not a fund, a private equity. There's a lot of bad press about private equity funds. I've worked with them for years. I started my career working in the corporate finance. I think there is good actors and there are bad actors, just like there is in everything. But for Oakmere, we want to own businesses. So my aim is to take over a business, Jonathan, that hasn't used AI. I mean, an example that I got from my old IT support business, that put in a computer with internet connection to a carpentry business in the West Country that was 100 and something years old. They had one computer, but it wasn't connected. And then we only put the computer in about 2017 or 18, their first computer with a connection to the outside world. That's the perfect business for me, Jonathan, where we can come in. We've got a team of young, so my aim is to be the non-exec rather than the exec, but a young, that we can deploy some of these things to help A, take the business to the next level, B, help the existing team to perform better. Because I'll be honest with you, Jonathan, we both work in SME land. Even in large companies, AI is still at a pretty nascent stage in my view.
Sure.
SME land, it's almost exclusively non-existent if you take it, given that in the UK there are 5.7 million companies at SME level above you, of which only 1.4 million employ any. So if you take that stats, I think that's so from my side, Jonathan, the less AI they're using, the better for me, because it means we can make real gains. And one of the things that we're looking at is how we deploy packages of AI properly and consistently, then across all of the businesses we want to own, so that we can have a bit like Danny just mentioned, reporting easily, so that we're all using the same reporting systems on marketing, finance, things. So we all have a standardized set of data flexed for the individual businesses, but then everybody can understand. So if each of us, for example, on this podcast had a different business, but we're all talking in the same language, using the same tools, so that we all know that, I don't know, if I felt that Danny could come and run my business, or if you felt that Jonathan or wanted to go on holiday, we could walk in and know. So for me, the fewer tools they have, the better. But I also think it's fairly fertile territory, because for the most part, the people that I speak to, either a very early stage or some of them are actively against it. They don't really understand. And I think that's where your podcast was very interesting for me, because you were giving practical steps of how to use it and how to go about it, which is not what a lot of people are talking about, the benefits, rather than the actual, how do you get the benefits?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a few cases, and I saw somebody online last week saying they're about to throw out Tableau. I think they have like a $250,000 a year contract with Tableau. They've spent some time with one of the LLMs, ChatGPT, whatever, reproducing what Tableau would do by way of reporting. And they're now saying we can cancel our Tableau contract because we can do it all ourselves with AI. And I think that might be something that happens in lots of places. So there's a challenge there to some of those reporting businesses about how they evolve and make their tools more relevant.
Sorry, John. The interesting thing to me about that is Tableau, and I think there's a lot of threat for those reporting tools like that. The one thing I would say is be careful, because remember, when you're giving it to ChatGPT, your data isn't as secure as it would be when you're using. So you're giving.
Sure.
So you need to be careful, because Tableau goes, for example, if you're going to put customer data in there, at least blind it up so that only you can decode it, because otherwise you don't know where it's going and who it's teaching. And it's interesting that so for example, I mentioned I went to Zoomtopia 2 days ago, which is Zoom's launch of their thing. One of the things that they're very specific about is that the AI tools for each client are their tools only. They're not informing the Zoom tools, and the data stays within you. The one thing I would say, and I'm not criticizing, because I think ChatGPT is amazing, but the difference is if you're dealing with, I don't know, sensitive defense contracts or sensitive client data or sensitive employee data under the different rules and the ICO and the GDPR, you need to be careful about what you're putting out there, because it's not under your control. It's not within your cloud. Or another way to look at it, Jonathan, is make sure you get your settings right so that you are.
Yeah, it's interesting. That comes up a lot. And I know Danny's had the similar conversations. When I'm presenting this stuff, this song in particular, people say they're worried about exactly that, Martin. So, okay, well, there are obviously, as you say, there are settings you can set to make sure it doesn't share data with the model. It doesn't train the model. And almost always the follow-up question is, yeah, but do you trust it? So, well, that's a different question, right? Whether you trust Anthropic or OpenAI is a completely different question. The tools are there, we are told, that mean you can make it. There's clearly a nervousness in everybody around that question.
I mean, I'm personally not that nervous, Jonathan, because I don't think I'm particularly that interesting that anybody would have anything. If I get to that elevated level of being that interesting, then I'm pretty cool with being. But I think it's just a case of, it's a bit like, for example, Dropbox. I like Dropbox when it came out. It was a really great solution. But if you're in the legal profession, you can't use Dropbox because you can't guarantee where your data is going to be held. If it transfers into a data center in America, that means the Justice Department in America can access anything they want. So you just need to, I think that, is it God or the devil is in the detail of that? And then whether you trust it or not, Jonathan, is beyond my understanding. But for me, you just need to be aware of what tools you're using for what, when, and how. Just be a bit
Gotcha.
I think Tableau is an amazing tool, but it is going to be left behind by this stuff. But you just need to think about the data you put in it.
So what would be to wrap up, I'm conscious of time, what would be your sort of 3 bits of advice to a leader of a growing business, Martin, about their finance function, how AI might work with them? And sorry to put you on the spot, but what would be your three top tips, Martin's top tips?
Could I just restrict it to kind of 2 main points, Jonathan?
Go
One
for it.
is
Yep.
AI as it currently stands, and if you guys are much more included than me, Danny, and yourself, but as it currently stands, where the future will be, this might be out of date as soon as I say it, but where it currently stands, AI is not the new finance strategy department. I think it's more like a turbocharger for that department. It can absolutely revolutionize what productivity you have and the value you provide to the organization. But if you don't get on board with it, I think you're going to be left in the slow lane really dragging, because I still think as it currently stands, it will really impact the performance of the people who use it, and the people that don't are going to really struggle to keep up. And I know from my own point of view, I'm much more amplified now than I ever was. When I'm doing my lecturing, for example, I can produce slides in 10 minutes that would take 2 hours to put together on PowerPoint before. And that's where I think we're at. Where we'll be in the future, and Danny mentioned about how exciting some of the stuff could be, but where we are now is you're not even going to be in that lane if you don't start adopting some of these things right now.
I would just add from the conversation, the things that I had written down is opportunity to develop SME AI specific tools. So if you're a builder or an optimizer, there's a great opportunity for people there. And then basically, I think there's definitely a hole in finding the operational efficiencies from a finance perspective, but then also operationally as well. So I think if you're starting from scratch or starting from, say, a 3 out of 10, then if you're comfortable with the data, then definitely use it for operational efficiencies and ask the questions what you struggle with. So say it takes you 10 minutes, like to even think of a question, really just ask those questions really specifically, and then find out how it finds the holes and how it can sew things together. Because what AI is great at is summarizing and then giving you the next set of actions. So from this conversation, I've taken that away and want to talk to a couple of developers. So I think we've learned a lot, and there's a lot to take on.
Well, if you want somebody to dump their limited knowledge, Danny, I'm always happy to help about that sort. But I think for me, the bit for the SMEs at the moment, from a prediction point of view, is the lack of data makes it a lot harder to fill in. But there's a massive opportunity, and for those people out there, really try to at least understand what you can use it for, because then even if it frees up, I don't know, 2 hours a week that you could use that strategically, you'll be a lot better off.
Martin, thank you for joining us. We've really enjoyed the conversation. It's been great to see you again.
Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions, please reach out via the show notes below. You can also subscribe to our supporting newsletter released with every podcast. Go to aimoment.co.uk and hit subscribe. We share more important links, run-throughs of the tools mentioned in the podcast, and more. See you next time.